Welcome to the first episode of Pot Limit Omaha Analysis. You can call me Bravo. I'd like to focus on the luck factor of the game, also standard deviation, which is the square root of the variance. A lot like the powers to be, they want to introduce the self-driving cars that you see there being towed. The powers to be want to put self-driving cars on the road because they think it's going to reduce the standard deviation. It'll reduce the mistakes that humans make. But we're not here to talk about self-driving cars. Again, we're here to talk about Pot Limit Omaha. A little bit of history of my experience in the game. Going back to the 1980s, there was not much Omaha High going on in Las Vegas. There was a lot of Omaha 8 or better, but not much Omaha High back in the 80s. It was sometime in the 1990s, I believe, that an Omaha High game started to get popular downtown at the Horseshoe. So that's where all the Las Vegas rounders learned the game in Las Vegas. Around there in the 90s. Now you have to remember we're talking cash games. Back then they were all limit games. You could play Pot Limit Omaha in the tournaments and get a little experience. But again, this was before the no limit became very, very popular. And now in the last 4 or 5 years, Pot Limit Omaha has become all the rage. So here we are. Fast forward to today, the 2018 World Series of Poker is winding down, and Aria is still pretty busy. We were there last night where they had 4 or 5 PLO games going. Now, what makes poker painful at times is the variance. We talked about that before. The variance and the standard deviation. In other words, any moron can win with junk cards all night long, apparently. So that's we're not going to be able to leave that out of our analysis of PLO. That's why everybody loves the game. They get 4 cards and they believe that they can play any 4 cards, but we know that's incorrect. But don't tell that to the donkeys. Now, in a perfect utopian world, if you played good cards all the time, you would just drive down the straight and narrow. You'd never have any problems. Your bankroll would continue to grow. But as you know, we do not live in a perfect utopian world. And the poker world that we live in is you have these talking monkeys who drive up beside you and they bang into you. And they keep on banging into you, as we're going to find out tonight. So sometimes the road is rough, lots of potholes, and you can't seem to get it out of first gear, let alone get into fourth and fifth gear. Again, that's what poker is all about, isn't it? Being able to slam on the brakes and put it in reverse, or even, throw it into gear, first, second, third. Before you know it, you're in fourth and fifth gear. You're flying down the road. And again, that's definitely what poker is all about, shifting gears. But yeah, we have to focus January to January. That's how you eliminate the standard deviation. That's how you eliminate that pesky little problems of variance. Say, a night like tonight is a rough night, and we look at it, that's the variance, but we're going to focus on January to January, and that's how we're going to learn. Now, in this exercise, feel free to make comments and recommendations, and maybe we can learn together. So without further ado, let's get to the hands I played tonight. So the table that I was at, half the field was Asian, and they were feeling lucky, nothing new there. I only played about 2 hands in 45 minutes, and that was enough to know that tonight was not my night. How do they say it? Some nights you're the windshield, and other nights you're the bug. Tonight I was the bug. So I looked down, and this was the first hand that I played. Well, I got pretty good position, which makes this hand all the better. It's not a great hand, but it's not a bad hand either. And there's two callers before me. Ling Ling was the first. She had been preoccupied with eating her spicy pad thai when she looked down at a hand that got her attention. At that point, I thought maybe she had cowboys double suited or, some sort of hand like that. The second player to call was her buddy Hung Lo, who always calls or raises when Ling Ling is in the game. So here we are. We're going to see the flop three-handed. After I made a raise, I bet the pot, and they both called. And sure enough, in hindsight, after the hand was over, I found out that yes, Ling Ling had cowboys with rag rag. They were not suited. She had a reason to be there. Hung Lo, totally different scenario. Hung Lo had deuce, 4, 8, king, rainbow. Yeah, when I saw the hand flipped over at the river, yes, I was flabbergasted. I was shocked. Again, Hung Lo had 2, 4, 8, king, rainbow. Now, the flop was very favorable to me. Well, it was a halfway decent flop for me. It came 4 of hearts, queen of hearts, and a black 5. So I picked up a flush draw. I got aces. I got the nut flush draw. I don't have much money in front of me anymore because I bet the pot before the flop and I bet the pot after the flop, and I get 2 callers. Yes. Ling Ling calls me with her kings, and this is the bumpy part of the road. Like I said, Hung Lo called me, and he only had a 4. Like I said, the flop was 4, queen of hearts, 5. The only thing that Hung Lo had was a 4. I bet the pot, and he was confident enough to make the call. The turn was a blank, helped nobody, no heart. And you guessed it, the river was a damn 8, not a heart, an 8. And Hung Lo won with 2 pair. Yes, snagging a silly little 8 on the river, winning with 2 little pair, 4s and 8s. And hey, we have to remember, January to January, and I'm pretty sure that sometime in between January and January, Hung Lo is going to go broke. So we go on to the second hand I play of the night. So I'm in middle position. The the blinds are in there. I opened the bet up at 15, middle position. The button raised me to 30. The big blind called, and then I bet the pot when it came back around to me. And the button folded, and the big blind called my pot bet, and the big blind had a mediocre pair. I think it was like 7s or 8s, I believe. And he hit the flop with a set. He hit his little set on the flop. I turned a possible diamond flush draw, and then the river paired the board with 9s. So this hand lost to a small full house. And that was it for the night.